From the studios here at CATV6 and RobinHoodRadio.com, welcome once again to, Simply Sports. My name is Andy Williams. Welcome once again. This is the Saturday night prime time edition, 1 hour long, September the 28th, 2019. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is the end of September, which can only mean one thing: baseball and the playoffs. And in a few minutes, I will be joined by my very special guest, Willy Yahn. But first, before we get to Willy, if you want to call in and be live with both myself and Willy Yahn, 860-824-4200. That is 860-824-4200. If you want to be live on Simply Sports with myself and Willy Yahn, the phone lines are now open. Once again, before I get to Mr. Yahn, who happened to graduate from Housatonic in 2014, who's the athletics that happened in the present? Housatonic volleyball, Thursday night at Holy Cross, Naugatuck Valley game. Housatonic won a very exciting 5-set thriller in Holy Cross. Holy Cross was 4-1 coming into the match, and they win the 5th set 15-7. So needless to say, my youngest sister, who's the head coach of the Hoosie volleyball team, Megan Williams, she got engaged this past Saturday. Now she wins against the Naugatuck Valley League team. I would say she's having the best week ever. Just saying. On to Hoosie soccer. The boys team dropped a game to Thomaston this past Thursday, 2-0. Yep, and also the Hoosie girls won their game against Thomaston 8-1. Ouch. 8-1. Ooh. Like I said, the next couple of games will be held both home and away against Chippewa on Tuesday. Make sure you go out and support your Housatonic athletics, wherever they may be. Right now, going on at the Safeway Championship, starting the third round, Bryson DeChambeau led by 2 shots over Nick Watney. He shot a 7-under par 65 to end the second round at 12 under. However, right now as we speak, it is Cameron Champ and Nick Taylor that currently hold the lead at 12 under. Bryson DeChambeau has slipped back to third at 11 under par. So we'll see where that round materializes at the end of the day. College football. In one of my Big Five, I would say I covered in one. No, really. It says it right here. If you can read my chicken scratch, which you can't. Penn State. I said that they would cover the 6.5 over Maryland. Boy, did they ever. A mere 59-0 drubbing over Maryland. 59-0. That's got to hurt. That really does. My apologies to Scott Van Pelt and his alma mater on that. A big upset, too, that happened in college football. Arizona State upsetted University of California, the Cal Bears, 21-14 last night. Herm Edwards, boys, my goodness. Very, very big upset at Berkeley. So, again, this was a very, very interesting time going on in college football. And right before we came on the air, the number 1 team in all the land, the Clemson Tigers, got a huge, and when I'm talking huge, I'm talking a huge scare from the North Carolina Tar Heels. Clemson was up 21-14. North Carolina drives down the field, scores a touchdown with 1:15 left. And instead of playing for overtime and kicking the extra point like a normal team would, they decided to roll the dice and go for 2. And knowing the Clemson defense, they bowed up. Clemson with the stop. Clemson recovers the onside kick. Clemson escapes North Carolina with a 1-point win. Alabama cruised to a very lopsided victory over Ole Miss. How this is going to affect the next poll standings, I think Alabama, don't be surprised if Alabama leapfrogs Clemson in the standings when it comes to Monday, when the rankings come out. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, it is now time to bring 2014 graduate from Housatonic, graduate from UConn, drafted in the 25th round by the Baltimore Orioles, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only Willy Yahn. Willy,
how you
welcome
doing?
to Simply Sports.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Oh my goodness. What you've done over the past few years is just amazing. I mean, it's just been an absolute whirlwind. I mean, just tell us about the ride. I mean, it's just, I mean, we're going to go, I mean, I'm pretty much going to go over the stats, but what has the last year been like?
Yeah, I mean, the last year's it's been a lot of fun. It was a crazy ride. You know, spring training, I went in there just, trying to make one of the spring, the teams coming out of camp and not stay for extended spring training, that is. And I ended up going to the high A team instead of the low A team. And, I've talked about it with people all the time. I say, wait, really? I'm going to the high A team? Are you sure? You got to go check that.
Now, what is the difference between a high A team and a low A team?
So basically there's 3 levels of A ball, and then after that there's just AA, AAA in the big leagues. Mm-hmm. So there's short season A, which I played in last year with Aberdeen. There's low A, which is Delmarva Shorebirds in Salisbury, Maryland, and then there's high A with the Frederick Keys. So I honestly assumed going into spring training that I was going to go to low A, and I would just go one by one, climb up the ladder each year. And they told me I was going to play for the Frederick Keys, and like I said, I was I was really excited, and I felt like I earned it, but still, I was like, wait, are you sure?
Yeah, I mean, just this last year for you, and we're going to go back through again what your minor league career has been like, and also too, if you want to call in live to get live with me and Willy Yahn on Simply Sports, 860-824-4200, 860-824-4200. Call in with questions to not only myself, but to that man right there, Willy Yahn. Now, Willy, I want to throw it back to the high school days, the Hoosie days. 3-time Berkshire League All-Star, 2014 All-Area MVP, perfect game All-Region, and also a perfect game All-Region underclass All-American, I believe, if I'm reading this correctly. Mm-hmm. Now, what exactly were your positions in high school?
It was mostly, until senior year, it was mostly just third and a little bit of short, and I pitched a lot as well. But I also started catching my senior year just because we needed it. Me and myself and Chris Finale, basically, we were the only pitchers and catchers, so we just went back and forth.
Okay. And again, this is one of the more remarkable stats too. And speaking of pitching as well, your last 2 years at Hoosie, you won 15 games. And you struck out 206 batters. Yep. Your last 2 years. I mean, that's that's remarkable. I mean, that's a career. I mean, that's what, 40. What is it? 20 games a season. So what, 40 games?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you struck out 206 batters. I mean, Major League Baseball players would kill for a career like that. Yeah. What was your best pitch?
I was attacking with a fastball, and I think the biggest thing for me in high school is I was able to hit my spots with my fastball, and then 2 strikes, I was just making guys chase the curveball in the dirt. So, but I was trying to just overpower guys with fastballs early in the count.
Nice. And who was your coach back in high school?
I had 3. So I had Pat Richardson my freshman year, and then Rob Oley my sophomore year, two great coaches, and then Daryl Mulhart for my last 2 years. So I got really lucky. I had 3 awesome coaches in 4 years at Hoosier.
And then also too, I mean, this is another mind-blowing stat, which I dug this up. Your junior season, you batted 662.
Yeah, that's right.
662. So basically, every three at bats, you're putting the ball in play, and you're getting on base twice.
Yeah,
every 3 at bats.
Junior and senior year pitching was fun, but I think hitting was a little more fun because I knew after I was going to college and playing summer ball and hopefully beyond, it wasn't going to get any better than that. So I really relished those couple seasons.
And also your senior year, same numbers. I mean, you batted 590. 590. Now, when did you started noticing the scouts from college, from the University of Connecticut? Like when did you start saying, when did they start coming up to you?
That was my junior year. Yeah, my junior season. I think originally it was as a pitcher because I had the pitching numbers also, and everybody wasn't sure if the hitting would go beyond the Berkshire League. And then I started playing in summer ball with Team Connecticut after that, and they saw me hit against some guys like out of the double L schools and all that, and from out of state. So they were definitely interested in the middle of that spring season, and then definitely into the summer, and then I ended up committing that summer.
And again, these stats, ladies and gentlemen, are just off the chart. I mean, even for high school, you struck out only once in the last 2 years of your high school career.
Yep, that's
once.
Right.
I mean, that's mind blowing.
Yeah, and I remember that too. It was at Lewis Mills, and
you remember it? Yeah. Oh my God.
It was a pretty good pitcher. I can't remember. It may have been it was Galicchio or something. I can't remember if that was his exact last name. But it was a high curveball. It was at my chin, but the catcher caught it deep. He struck me out looking, so I wasn't even swinging. It was definitely a ball. But I went back to the dugout because I was pitching that day, and I was just really focused on trying to give up as few runs as possible against Mills. We ended up winning the game. But I went to the dugout, and everybody's looking at me like, "Oh man, he's gonna be so mad!" Like, and I was kind of laughing. I was like, "That was pretty bad, wasn't it?" I mean, if that's gonna be the only strikeout, I'd rather be that than chasing a curveball in the dirt.
I mean, that to me kind of just carried over into your career in college. I mean, your on base percentage again off the charts. I mean, again, I'm looking at your stats right here. You're finished 14th all time in the school's history, 207 career hits, and then 20th all time with 38 double. I mean, a lot of things like nowadays with baseball, and probably you can see it. It's either home run or strikeout. It's not like the old school, like the Pete Rose style or
right.
the Roberto Clemente, put the ball in play. Do you notice that change now, especially in going in the minor leagues and as you move forward into the majors? I mean, are you seeing more and more of that?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I always get told by fellow teammates and coaches now, they're like, "Man, you're in the wrong generation. If you were in the 50s and 60s, you'd have been fine." And I was like, "Yeah, I know. I get that a lot." But I was kind of from just a power standpoint working on a little more this off season, and it helped out. It's it's still a work in progress, but it was a little bit better this year. But it's still, to me, it's just. The game in its purest form is a guy hustling out of the box, stretching singles into doubles, and scratching and clawing for every single run and every single base runner. So I kind of, you know, the home runs, I have no choice. I got to adapt and hit a little more, have a little more pop. But it's still, you know, there's nothing like belly flopping into second base on, you know, a ball in the gap. You know what I mean?
That,
so.
yeah, and obviously if you follow Willy on Instagram, there is a picture of him in midair, you know, sliding into, I think, I don't know if it was second or third or what have you, but I mean, you remind me of a modern day Pete Rose, hustling to every base, getting on base no matter what. Offensively, and defensively. I mean, right now you're playing what? Shortstop, third base.
Usually third base and second base. Yeah, those two positions.
Now how have you adapted to playing the hot corner in the minors and in college?
Well, I've been third baseman for, you know, my whole life, and so I had to adapt each level and get used to the speed, because the speed is just kind of an uptick every single level you move. It was more so the moving to second base. I didn't play second base that much, and this season I played it more than ever. So just trying to, it really just got to, like, during batting practice, get as many reps as you can and treat them like game reps. You know, you got to practice the way you play. So I've been able to adjust to both positions as the levels get better, just by the maximum reps.
Now, is there that much of a difference between the college ball and the minor ball?
Well, you know, going from the AAC, which was a really strong baseball conference,
Absolutely.
To the Gulf Coast League, honestly, it wasn't a huge jump. It was a jump, especially, you know, facing some live arms for sure. But the speed wise of the game, it wasn't too much of an uptick. It was an uptick, but it wasn't too much. But from 2017 playing, in college ball, and then this year being in AA, you realize how far it's actually come in those 2 years.
Now, and I'm sure a lot of people are curious too. How big of a difference was it between the aluminum bat and the wood bat?
It's different. It's definitely a different game. You know, you can get away with some jam shots falling in over the shortstop or second baseman's head, and you don't go through as many. You know, that's a broken bat, but pop out to the shortstop usually, but you can get knocks out of that. So, to me personally, I really like playing with the wood bat. It's just a pure form of the game, and you know, there's nothing like the crack of the bat and the sound of that. But there's a difference for sure. You can't get away with jam shots as much as you can in the minors.
Now, are you more of a pull ball hitter, or are you a center field hitter? You know, oppo, or
I'd say I work, you know, gap to gap. I like going to the right side, but my power is definitely to left field and left center. So I try to spray the ball around, but when I really get into balls and I backspin balls, it's mostly to the left side.
Nice, Beautiful. There was one year during your college career, you missed the first 3 weeks with a broken hand. What was that, your junior year?
That's correct, yeah.
And yet you still, if I'm reading these numbers correctly, you batted .317. You had 60 hits, 12 doubles, 2 triples, 2 home runs, and a 14-game hitting streak?
I think so, yeah. All sounds right.
I mean, what can you say? I mean, it was, and you played against schools like Long Beach State and all these AAC schools. I mean, you go from seeing scout to scout, like when you were at Hoosy, you saw the UConn scouts. When you saw Major League scouts looking at you, they started talking. When was that?
So I guess I was fortunate enough to play with some great players, and one of them being Anthony Kay, who made his debut with the Toronto Blue Jays, and he started bringing a lot of scouts to games my sophomore year, which was his draft year. So they started looking there, and they knew that I was going out to play in the Cape. And then when I played in Cape Cod, that was when I got a lot of attention. That was the beginning of it. And that led into the junior fall and the junior season.
Now, when did you start playing baseball when you were a child?
Oh man, I started playing really young. I think I played t-ball when I was 4 for about a day, and I wanted
a day.
Yeah, I wanted the ball to be thrown to me, you know, because my mom and dad were always excited to come out and play wiffle ball or something, and I was used to having the ball thrown at me. And then my mom brought me down the first day of t-ball, and it was just sitting there. And I was like, this isn't fun. I want to hit it. I want to hit a fastball. So I ended up going up and playing coach pitch. I was playing coach pitch at Sharon Center. It might not have been until I was 5, but that was when I started playing. Actually playing ball way back then.
Wow, that's amazing. 860-824-4200, 860-824-4200. If you want to come on live with myself and the man Willy Yahn, and we're going to talk some baseball. And, I mean, your senior year, you played your senior year?
Not at UConn.
Not at UConn?
No, my junior year is my last year there for baseball, yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Now that was, and then you got drafted by
the Orioles.
by Baltimore, 25th round in 2017. And there was also another individual from our area, Will Montgomery, who got drafted by the Dodgers.
That's right, yeah.
And did you ever get a chance to talk to him, or?
Yeah, so we've been best buds since Little League. We played on the Little League All-Star teams with each other back in the day, a couple of travel ball teams, and then we committed to UConn kind of similar days. And at UConn, we were always together. We were in the same recruiting class, so it was hard to be apart, So, but yeah, he's one of my best friends. I saw him last weekend. We had the alumni game at UConn.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so it was a lot of familiar faces. That was a lot of fun.
So now he's in what level is he at right now? Is he in AA as well, or is he?
I think he's in High A right now. Yep. So he was with the team in Rancho, I think, in High A with the Dodgers. Yeah. So he's been doing really well. It was a healthy year for him, which is good. The last couple of years he had a little bit of unfortunate health issues. So
now he's a relief pitcher, I believe.
I think he'll start most of the time.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Sometimes he'll come in relief. Yeah, but he's got an electric fastball. The velo can get up there, but as a starter, he's got like the the spin rate.
Yes.
So it looks like that Invisible ball. Like the ones that Nolan Ryan threw, where it looks like it's going up to a hitter, but it's just not. It doesn't actually go up, but it looks like it is.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love baseball, and I'm fascinated by the game, and I mean a lot of sports, obviously, because obviously I do this show. But anyway, when you have a fastball coming at you, 90, 95, like you've probably seen a 95 mile an hour fastball. How quick is it? How much reaction time do you have?
Not much. Yeah.
Like what? Half a second, maybe?
Probably a little less. I mean,
really?
Yeah. So
even less.
I'd say it's probably in the realms of it's not much. It doesn't seem like much of a difference. It's probably like 0.412 seconds, something like that. Yeah. Like 100 mile an hour I watched that documentary by Kevin Costner, Fastball on Netflix, and 100 mile an hour fastball is like 0.396. So like 95 is probably like 0.42 around there, maybe a little faster, but
I saw something similar on another document, but actually one day I was working at Sharon Country Club, not to steer off the topic of baseball, but Taylor Dent came in, and ATP player, made it. I think he made it to the 4th round of Wimbledon. He was clocked at the highest serve speed, 145 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's fast.
I mean, that's humming.
Yeah.
And you could imagine 145 miles an hour, a ball coming at you.
Oh yeah.
Painting the lines.
Right.
I mean, it's similar to like 100 miles an hour, painting the corners.
Right. Yeah.
And it was funny too. They called me over from the cart barn. They said, "Hey Andy, you want to hit a ball off an ATP player?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely, yeah." So I get ready. I'm in my, I haven't played tennis since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm ready. And then all of a sudden I see the ball go by me. I'm like, wait, what?
Did I blink? Yeah.
I was like, come on, can I get ready here?
Right.
They're like, all right, I'll give you one more. And then he served one. I actually got a hold of it too, and I actually just missed the line by that.
Really?
And everybody, it's just absolutely amazing, like how fast a reaction time, like from a pro level to a minor level. I don't know how big the difference is from, say, from like let's say Aroldis Chapman to a minor league ball player. I mean, Aroldis Chapman. I mean, he's throwing on average 102 on the gun to a minor leaguer. I mean, is there that big a discrepancy, or is that like?
It's not too much. I mean, I was down in extended spring training last year, and we were playing against the Twins extended spring training team, and they rolled out a guy who was throwing 101 miles an hour. So,
wow.
I mean, yeah, there's guys throwing flames all the way through the minor leagues. It's just the guys who can command it and have other pitches to back it up.
Now, I don't know if have you seen the movie Bull Durham at all?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Now, I mean that's one of my all-time favorite baseball movies. Is it true, like at the minor league level, like when Luke Lelouch, it's one thing to throw a fastball, but you got to have a great curveball also in the major leagues. I mean, it's just
I'd say. I mean, you got to be able to back it up, because guys, once you get to a certain level, it's kind of especially big league players, they could time up a jet plane. You know what I mean? It's all just when they see enough reps, they'll fire up the machines up to like 110 miles an hour just to make 100 look slow. So
to make 100 miles an hour.
Well, they try to.
Slow.
It'll never look slow, but they try to.
That doesn't seem possible. I mean, how can you make a 100-mile-an-hour simulator? I mean, how do you make that feel slow?
Well, in spring training this past year, we would do a lot of drills where we do curveball machines, lefty curveball, righty curveball, and then the last machine on the far left would be a machine throwing probably 85 miles an hour from like little league distance.
Okay.
So the equivalent's a little over 100 miles an hour, but we were just doing that. So then we went out during our spring training games. It all looked, it at least looked a lot slower than it was. So.
Now, when you were in spring training, by the way, 860-824-4200, 860-824-4200 to come in live with me and Willy Yahn as we're talking baseball right now. Spring training, did you get a chance to play with the big club?
Not this past spring training, no.
Okay.
Hoping for that this coming one, but not yet. Haven't gotten that first at bat with the big club yet.
Now to go through the minor league career. Now you started in the Gulf Coast League with the Gulf Coast League Orioles. Now that's kind of like their low A team.
Yeah, they just call it rookie ball. Yeah, it's like the step below A ball, where they just kind of get guys' feet wet. And sometimes like college guys will go to the GCL, the Gulf Coast League, and then some guys will go straight up to Aberdeen. I didn't do that till the following year. So
now it says here in 2017 you played 56 games. You had 209 at bats with a 278 batting average. I mean, first of all, to bat, what does it mean to bat 275 in the, well, actually better than 275 in the minors? I mean, that's got to be, for you, you had to think from high school level when you're batting 660 to, the minor leagues, 278, against, future big league players or players aspiring to be, and you're batting 280. What was that like?
It was exciting. It was a confidence builder going into my first spring training, because coming out of college, you're getting your first big pro ball at bats. There's the hair of doubt. Do I have the bat speed for this kind of stuff? And then I started off with a really good June, because we started on June 15th at the Gulf Coast League. Started off really well, and then just built off that and ended up with a pretty good summer. But you're going to go through your ups and downs the entire season. It's just maintaining your confidence and knowing that you're good enough to be there.
And then in 2018, you played at Aberdeen, 65 games, 240 at-bats. Again, a strong 275 batting. What was that experience like?
That was a lot of fun, because, the GCL, we play every single game in Sarasota at 12 o'clock noon. It's hotter than heck down there. And there's no fans.
There's nothing.
Yeah, there's no fans. So you really learned. I knew that I loved baseball, but some guys learned whether or not they love baseball in the Gulf Coast League. But going from that to Aberdeen, it was like heaven. We're playing in front of a lot of great ballparks in the New York Penn League. Aberdeen's especially had one of the nicest parks with a lot of fans.
Nice.
And that was one of my favorite summers. This summer and last summer were two of my favorite ones.
On average, how many fans did you play in front of at Aberdeen?
In Aberdeen, I'd say we probably averaged a couple thousand. Yeah, like
nice.
2,000 or so. Yeah, the park fit. On like 4th of July and opening day, we probably had 5,000 or something like that. So,
wow. Wow.
Yeah, so it was a really cool ballpark. Yeah.
Now, I mean, I lived in the Florida area for a few years. I mean, down in Orlando, and trust me, I know what
Oh man.
what the summers were like
Yeah.
down there when I was 19, 20, 21, 22
You
years
walk
old.
outside, you just feel like you're in an oven.
Yeah. When I first moved down there for golf school, when I was moving into my apartment, actually, I lived on a 3rd-story apartment,
Oh man.
and I walked down the first time, and then right as I'm getting out, I'm like covered.
Yeah.
And my dad's looking at me. He said, "You sure you want to do this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Dad, I do actually."
Yeah. You gotta get used to sweating all the time.
Absolutely. and then of course this year, you started out at Frederick, 56 games, 216 at bats, 296 starting out. And again, what was that experience like before we get to the big event?
Yeah, man, that was a really fun first half. I went into it, I was really happy and honestly surprised that I was there. And I was started off as a backup infield. I wasn't playing a lot in April, and then the first month of May was some of the best baseball I ever played. Ended up being Player of the Week for the Carolina League.
Wow!
And played almost every game the rest of the way through there, and. It was a blast. Month of May, I had those home runs there, and just to be able to establish myself at that level and just try to help the team win. That's really all that mattered, and that was kind of the fuel to playing well.
And then the All-Star game.
Yeah.
And then you got the call up to Double-A. What was that phone call like?
Well, it was a crazy day because it was the day before the All-Star game, and our manager, we were at home. The All-Star game was in Frederick, so he was managing the game.
Yeah.
And we had it was like an event at the Flying Dog Brewery, which is right in Frederick. And he came up to me, and super casually, he was like, "Hey, yeah, you're going to Double-A. They need you in Hartford." And I paused. Like, I tried to play it cool. I was like this, but inside I was like,
"Yeah, and yeah, you're going."
Did you just say? Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, and then of course he repeated it and said, "You're going to be in Hartford."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was messing with me at first. Well, not with the call up, but where I was going. He's like, "Yeah,
exactly."
Yeah.
And your first Double-A game was going to be pretty much in your backyard.
Yeah. Man, that was something special. I'll never forget that day.
And what was that like? I mean, just to play your first game, literally miles away from where you went to college. Mm-hmm. I mean, an hour away from where you live.
Mm-hmm. It was one of the best days of my life. I mean, being able to, I was just, hitting up my home group chats and telling coaches. I was like, you guys, you want to come hang out in Hartford? Or I might be around. And and then there, I'm so grateful for all the people that support me and came out to watch. There was a flood of people, and I tried to say hi and talk to as many people as I could, and it was a blast.
Now I mean, if I remember correctly, you went 2 for 9 in the 2 games you were there, and you had 2 RBIs, 2 doubles, and I mean, it was just it was amazing. And then how many more games did you play in up in Hartford?
We came back for one more series in the beginning of July, and that wasn't quite as fairy tale as the first one. I don't think I got a hit in that series.
Yeah.
But I played 2 of the 3 games in the second series and hit a couple balls hard. Didn't get any hits. That's how it works. But yeah.
I mean, for Bowie, the last you played the second half for the Bowie Bay Sox, 32 games, 112 at bats, and obviously. You could start seeing the difference. I mean, from single A ball to double A ball. I mean, how big is the gap from single A to double A?
I guess from a hitting perspective, you kind of see like the starting pitching isn't too terribly different. The velo's not through the roof with starters, but they have 3 pitches and they're a little more polished overall, and they're not missing too many spots. But the biggest difference for me was just guys coming out of the pen. You get every single guy's throwing at least 95 coming out of the pen. And, you get 1 or 2 guys maybe per series when you're in high A, and it's amazing how much every single guy comes out of the pen. There's, some crafty lefty, every team has one who's not throwing quite that hard, but you had to get, if you wanted to have a good day, you had to get at least 1 hit off the starter, or else you're gonna, the bullpen is just gonna
Eat you alive.
Yeah. There weren't a lot of runs scored by any team in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings in AA.
Now, you and I talked before the air, and I want to also, I just want to plug real quick, my friends from Primetime Sports Reveal. This is actually a World Series 2016 ball I won autographed by Ben Zobrist. So, I mean, this is
It's pretty sweet.
I mean,
I was checking that out.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, now, holding that at the major league level, is there like a difference between a major league level ball and a minor league level ball? I mean, is there a difference? I mean, basically what I'm asking, and I'm sure a lot of people on the airwaves want to know, is the ball really juiced? I mean, is there a little something in there?
They're juiced.
Really?
Yeah, they are juiced. Yeah.
Do tell.
I don't think I'll get in trouble for saying this, but just from sometimes we'll have a bucket of balls, and half of them are minor league balls and half of them are big league balls, and you can tell the difference when a guy gets into a big league ball. It
Really?
just flies. So I mean, I wish I brought one, but
That's all right.
Because I have some minor league balls. If you take a minor league ball and you took this ball and you held them at the same point and then dropped them, the major league ball will probably bounce up a third higher than the minor league ball. Yeah.
It's that big of a difference.
It's wound tighter, which that makes for the bounce difference, and then the seams are a lot lower.
So is it size wise? I mean right now, right now it's just like a normal baseball.
No, size wise is the same. Yeah.
It is the same.
Yeah, 9 inches around. Yeah. It's wound tighter. And actually, we had our hitting coach in Bowie. He gutted minor league ball and major league ball, and I don't know if it was wool or not, but normal ball has some wool, and then the tight string. The wool wasn't thick at all. It was like almost just 2 layers of thin string.
Really?
Yeah, which makes it so much harder. And then the corks were a little different too.
So basically, it is kind of like the natural then.
Yeah.
Like when he tore the cover off the ball in his first big at bat. There is string in there.
Oh yeah, there is. Yeah.
Like wow, I mean that. Now, when you were pitching, now what were your go-to pitches?
So I guess in high school I just went with the straight 4-seam grip, mostly for the fastball, just to try to get it by guys right there. The 4-seam grip, and then actually sometimes in summer ball, just because we had some really good defenses when I was playing with Team Connecticut, so I would throw 2-seamers and just try to get ground balls. So I'd hold it right there and then release it with a little bit of a right here so it'd sink down. But in high school it was mostly just the 4-seam. And through the spike curve.
Now what was the difference between what's the difference between a 2-seamer and a 4-seamer?
So the 4-seamer you're gonna get some more backspin on it, so it's gonna ride through the zone a little more. Okay. And a 2-seamer, you're gonna get some sink out of it, so hitters are gonna, like a 4-seamer traditionally hitters are gonna pop up more. Okay. And then a 2-seamer they'll usually just beat to the ground.
Okay. Now keep going. Okay. You're going onto your spike curve. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's all right. That's all right. So I used a spike curveball just to. I'm not sure. I think it just was the most comfortable for me. Sometimes I'd let it go like this right here.
Now the way you're holding now, hold that up right there. Now that looks really, really bizarre. I mean, you got to be holding that in your glove and.
Yeah, so usually I'd probably pre-grip it with the spike curve if I really wanted to throw it, so I wouldn't have to move it around too much and they'd think something was coming. Okay. But I remember I would watch Mike Mussina, who he just got inducted to the Hall of Fame, and he threw the spike curve, so that's where I got it from.
Moose did throw spike curve.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. So it was I just felt like it was the best way that I could get. Because when you throw, if you throw a slider, I didn't throw too many sliders in high school, and when I did, I dropped down. It was kind of like an 0-2 pitch. But the spike curve, I thought that was how I could get the most vertical movement. And a curveball or any kind of breaking ball slider is a lot harder when it's going more up and down than it is side to side, because it could go side to side, but the hitter can still kind of stay on plane with it easier. Whereas if it's up and down, it's going to either catch the barrel or miss the barrel. So.
Now, Mariano Rivera, one of probably the greatest closer of all time. Obviously, his pitch, the cutter. Can you throw a cutter?
I tried. I kind of did, but the location was kind of all over the place. I couldn't figure. I watched a couple documentaries on it, and it was more finger pressure for him than actual grip or anything like that. And I just didn't have a lot of control with it. I think I had a little bit of. I pitched actually for the Torrington Titans the summer after my senior year, and I tried a little bit, but it was just, for me, it was easier. It's the same idea. You throw a cut fastball for the same reason you throw a sinker, just because it's a fastball with movement on it. You know? So but I couldn't really locate it that well. So because I needed both my fingers to be able to establish some location.
Now, I got to be careful with this ball because that's actually worth a little bit of money. Nutrition. How big is nutrition and staying in shape? How big is that going into as a major league ball player? Like how big is it? Like how important is it for?
It's pretty important. Yeah, I from a physical training standpoint, I've always been leading into college. I was more like I was pretty scrawny, and I was more of a stamina guy. I ran a lot back then, and I was when we did conditioning tests at UConn, I was always up front. But the actual the strength part, the weightlifting wasn't quite there. So I worked on that a lot at UConn, and I owe a lot to those the strength and conditioning staff at UConn for getting me ready for the minor leagues, because once you get to the minor leagues, you have your strength coaches, but for the most part, how much you want to lift and exactly which parts of your bodies you want to get stronger, that's on your own. And they guide you, but you kind of make the final calls on that.
Now you say conditioning also when, leading up into college. You actually played soccer at Housatonic.
Yep.
And you had one of the most impeccable records. I believe you goaltended, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Now, how many shutouts did you have when you were at Houston?
I think it was.
I think it was like 23.
I think it was 23. Yeah.
I mean, it's just absolutely staggering number. And did anybody take a look at you as a scout for college in soccer, or was it just?
There were some ideas thrown around, and it was kind of like, was that something I wanted to do? I was asked, would you be interested? And I knew baseball was my passion, but I loved soccer. I loved playing goalie in high school. It was intense. It was hard. I liked the pressure in like all the pressures on the goalie. Nobody really notices if you have a really good game, people notice. But if you have like your standard game, nobody knows. But if you make one mistake, everybody is thinking about it and talking about it. So I like the pressure, because then you get to high school baseball, and I felt like I was I was obviously a lot better at baseball, so the pressure wasn't as high. But I guess I have to thank both my sisters for playing. Maggie played Division I soccer, and Ellie was a great soccer player in high school. So yeah, Maggie she played at Rutgers and Quinnipiac.
Wow.
And I was both their goalies. So,
oh my gosh, that's crazy.
So they definitely trained me for the high school years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And now where are your sisters? Are they still in college, or?
No, they both graduated, and they're working up in Portland, Maine. Yeah. So.
Are they still doing soccer, or are they?
I don't think so. Yeah. No, Maggie might play a little bit on the side for fun, but yeah, not anymore.
Thought they might play a little pro ball here and there.
Yeah. Maggie she played a little semi-pro actually on the off season for it was I think it was they called it semi-pro. I'm not sure exactly how it worked, but she played down in the Yale area. They had a semi-pro team that she played for the summers in between Rutgers and Quinnipiac.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. So.
Now getting back to the conditioning and the nutrition part of it, when you were down in Sarasota, I mean, the heat and I mean, for everybody here that has lived down in Florida during the summertime, and even I would say probably after April 15th, roughly. I mean, the conditions are just unbearable.
Yeah,
absolutely unbearable.
It's hotter than hot.
yeah. I mean, it's 95 degrees with 90% humidity
every day.
And every day.
Yeah.
And what did you basically do down there? I mean, for conditioning wise.
Well, I guess in spring training it wasn't too much conditioning. We do some like base running conditioning at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But in the mornings we do a lot of we do a lot of mobility just to like get our bodies right for the days of work, whether it was a practice day or we're actually playing games. And sometimes depending on if like pitchers, if they weren't pitching that day, or if you were playing the second half of the game instead of the first half, because in spring training you usually split the games. You'd get a light workout, and like in season you're really not moving around too much weight in terms of like benching and squatting and all that. But it was just a lot of mobility stuff and making sure the body was prepared for 140 games.
Wow, I mean, 140 games, and it's not 140 games, like one game, then 3 games. No, it's back to back to back to back to back. Some days double headers. Some,
Yeah.
I mean, and what were the double header games like? I mean, it's
well, it was they cut us some slack in the minors because we only played 2 7-inning games for double headers. So it's okay. They go by faster than you'd think, but. There are guys who complained about it, but I couldn't get enough. I couldn't get enough of it. I know, yeah. No, I'm serious, man.
What?
There are guys that are 10 times the player that I am, but they'd rather just stay home and play Fortnite.
They're big league baseball players, and they're complaining about back-to-back 7-inning games.
They're like, oh, we got to play 2 today. Oh man, we got.
Oh my God, like we're playing 2 high school games. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Because that's pretty much what you played. What 2 like that's
right?
What it
Yeah,
was.
2 7s. So it was
2 7s. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was the same length as the high school game, which it surprised me. I mean, I wouldn't have hated playing 2 9-inning games, but I think it was just I don't know, maybe time constraints or something, paying for the lights or whatever. But,
it must be. I mean, I don't see what else it could be.
Yeah.
So we've gone pretty much over everything possibly that we could go over with you. I think we nailed it all.
Yeah.
We got Major League Baseball. The playoffs are knocking on the door. They're starting next week. And there's a couple races that haven't been decided. I mean, first of all, I want to get your opinions right now. I got about 10 minutes left. Oh, wow. And what do you think right now? Who's the team to beat right now in Major League Baseball, in your opinion? Yeah,
so I guess... man, I look at that team down in Houston and I see the 2-headed monster at the top of the rotation. I don't see how anybody's going to beat them in at least. I think they're going to do okay in the division series, and then in 7 games, who's going to beat them 4 times with those 2 guys at the top?
Yeah, I mean Garrett Cole had over 300 strikeouts.
Yeah, I think they're the front runners for Cy Young in the same rotation.
And Verlander just coming off pitching his third. What is it, his third no-hitter in his career?
It was his third, yeah.
And then also, you can't forget about Greinke as a number 3.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I mean, you got 3 aces, 1, 2, 3. I mean, it's... In your mind, do you see them extending them in the postseason? Like normally you see Major League Baseball pitchers, and the game that we watch... We see them pitch 5 1/3, maybe 6 innings, based on the pitch count and everything to protect the arm. Are you going to see the Houston manager extend them 7, 8, possibly let them go the distance?
Well, I think it depends on how well the offense is going, because they got Altuve and Springer and all those guys, but I kind of have a feeling Cole and Verlander especially, those guys in the playoffs they're gonna let their bulldog mentality out, and they're gonna go as long as they can. They're not gonna want Hinch to take the ball out of their hands as long as they can stand it. So I think if they're putting up zeros and the pitch count's relatively, if it gets into the hundreds,
of course.
Yeah. But if they can keep it low, because their issue is they strike out so many guys, the pitch count gets up so fast.
Right.
But I think they're going to try to stay in the game as long as they possibly can, and those guys are competitors. That's why they're where they at right now at this point in the season.
Well, what do you think about the Yankees? Chances?
I like their chances, man. I was a Yankees fan growing up. So I've been to so many Yankees games and a couple of Yankees postseason games the last couple of years. So I'm pulling for them as well. And it's going to be, I'm pretty sure they're playing Twins in the that's going to be that's just going to be a home run derby, because they're the 2 teams with 300 jacks in the whole season.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're the first 2 teams to do it ever. So I mean that's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, I think the Yankees just have, on paper, They have the most talent.
Right.
But nobody thought the Twins were going to do what they did this season. So I wouldn't count them out at all.
Me especially. I mean, I had picked Cleveland, and I'm sure everybody else, to a man, picked Cleveland to win the division going away. And what the heck happened to Cleveland?
Man, they fell off.
They just at the trading deadline, you trade away your ace, Trevor Bauer, for Yasiel Puig. I mean, Yasiel Puig, he had a decent second half after the trade. I mean, he batted, what, 280? 282? And Trevor Bauer, he actually pitched okay for Cincinnati. What I don't understand is why you're trading away your best pitcher for your best hitter. Like what if you were a Major League Baseball manager, by any means necessary, you would keep your best pitcher, or would you keep your best hitter?
I think, especially when it comes down to the playoffs, over the course of a series, you're going to need that ace. That's going to be almost you at least feel confident he's going to guarantee you 1 or 2 wins in a series. So I think maybe if you have the personnel, then you can worry about your star players. But Trevor Bauer had that reputation. It didn't end well with the Indians and all that stuff, but I still think he's gonna help you get to the playoffs and then win and then compete in some series or with a couple starts. So I as a manager would definitely want to hold on to a starting pitcher of that caliber.
And then in the wild card game, basically, home field hasn't been decided as of yet, and you got the two small market, the Moneyball teams, the A's and the Rays. I mean, those are two scrappy team, kind of like you, kind of like a scrappy type of team with a lot of scrappy players. And what do you see coming out of there? I mean, regardless of the home field, because I don't think home field is going to make a whole heck of a lot of advantage for either. I mean, oh my God, we're going to Oakland. Oh my gosh,
right.
Oh my gosh, we're going to the Gulag down in St. Pete, down at the Trop. I don't think it's going to make a whole heck of a lot of difference. I mean, who do you see coming out of that?
Well, I think it's a pretty even matchup out of the two, but I really like what the A's have got with their offense and their like core with Chapman and Simeon on the left side. Man, they're an electric duo. I think the pitching staffs are pretty much equal. You know what I mean? So I really think it's going to be who's going to hit. And I like you said, I don't really think it's going to matter who has the home field advantage. I think it's just going to be who brings the bats for sure.
Now to shift over to the National League side, I mean, we're both in agreement that we think that that Houston, it's going to pretty much come down to Houston and the Yankees. But at the end of the day, it's going to be the Houston pitching that's going to overrule the Yankee bats.
Yeah, for sure.
So on the National League side, can anybody beat the Dodgers? Now, in my eyes, the Dodgers are the best team on paper. They got the pitching. They got Kershaw and Yu, and they got Jepsen coming out of the bullpen. Can they be trusted in the postseason? I mean, we've seen it time and again. Kershaw's been sporadic in the postseason. And the other starters, they're not really that trustworthy. And then the bullpen's kind of scattered about, and then their hitting is, it's hit and miss. I mean, can you trust the Dodgers in 2019 to get back to the World Series this year?
I mean, I think their chances are good, as they have been the last couple of years. But like you said, it's kind of the difference for them is being able to have those big moments, and like Kershaw being able to have a couple starts where he goes 8 innings at least and just completely shuts a team down. I think. I kind of like the Braves. I'm liking what the Braves got. It's a young group, but they're led by the old man Freddie Freeman and McCann. They seem like they're great guys in the locker room, and Freddie Freeman's one of my favorite hitters to watch.
Those Warriors in the
And they got a good staff. It's a lot of young guys, but if it's not going to be the Dodgers, I really like the Braves, and I think the Dodgers they've had the experience. That's the difference. They've had the experience with all making it to the World Series a couple times, and if they can get over the hump and have those clutch performances, they got a chance. They got a chance for sure to win it all. But I like the Braves as well.
Now in the Central isn't decided yet, which is amazing to me because I thought a few days ago that the Central was nailed down for St. Louis. I actually had St. Louis as one of my dark horses to go to the postseason this year. And They're one game ahead of Milwaukee. Now, I have Milwaukee as my team coming out of the National League. I'm going to stick by that because I love their pitching.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
And obviously, how big is Christian Yelich being out? How big is that going to play when it comes to postseason time?
Yeah, that's going to be tough, being able to, because he's like almost automatic in the season. You know what I mean? He was fun to watch, and it was such a beautiful swing. I would watch footage of his swing just to see what he's doing and try to not emulate it, but get some pointers from it. But anyways, the Brewers they're gonna be missing him in the middle of the lineup. They'd love to have him in clutch situations. I think Thames in the second half has been able to cover that boo-boo of him not being in the middle of the lineup. But I kind of like the Cardinals too, man. Their pitching staff, like recently with Waka and Wainwright, they've been shoving the last couple of weeks, especially Wainwright.
And do you see? And who do you got coming out of the wild card game, the play-in game between Washington and the Brewers? Do you think, again, does home field matter between Washington and Milwaukee?
With these guys, it might. I mean, especially if the Brewers can get home field advantage. I mean, they pack the house there, and they got a difference just with the fans alone. But I think the bats. The bats are about the same, but if you can get, it's going to be a close game, and if you can have it's going to definitely be a close game. If you can have the home field advantage in this specific matchup, I think it's going to be huge.
Who do you got coming out?
I think the Brewers are going to pull it out. They got a little more postseason experience recently. At least getting to the NLCS last year, and I think they're gonna. I got them pulling it out. The Nationals they're good. They they got Rendon and those guys and Soto putting up some unreal numbers.
But again, once again, you have the Nationals. The Nationals are very, very similar to the Dodgers. Those are two teams that I cannot trust.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
And so now you have an NLDS of the Brewers and the Dodgers. Who do you, I mean, you're already predetermined that you like the Braves over the Cards.
Mm-hmm. I think so, yeah. Mm.
Who do you got between the Brewers and the Dodgers?
Brewers and Dodgers. I think the Dodgers should win that series, but you said they can't be trusted. You know what I mean? So if the Brewers can hit against that starting pitching staff of the Dodgers, they got a solid chance. But if it comes down to, if it's close, and the bats aren't really flying, that's when the stud performances from Clayton Kershaw and some clutch swings will give the Dodgers the difference. So I would go with the Dodgers, but that's the beauty of playoff baseball, man. You never know.
Who's your World Series?
I'm gonna get flack for this, and it pains me to say it, but because I like the Yankees to win. If the Orioles aren't in it, I'd like the Yankees to win.
Of course, yeah.
But man, I don't see how the Astros aren't going to win it. They're so talented on both sides of the ball. I got the Astros winning this year.
And then who do you got in meeting? You think the kids from Atlanta are going to do it?
I'll go out on a limb and say the Braves might make a run here, and it'd be fun to see. It'd be great to watch those young kids, Acuna and all them, ball out. So I mean, Astros, Braves. I could be wrong, but okay. I'll lock it in.
All right, I'm going to lock in with the Astros versus the Brewers. I'm going to stick to Milwaukee. I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm going to stick with the Cheeseheads up in Wisconsin. So,
gotcha.
Willie, thank you very much for being on the show.
My pleasure, man.
And it was just great talking baseball with you, and I know everybody here is going to enjoy it. Folks, thank you very much for tuning in to a very special episode of Simply Sports on a Saturday. 1 hour edition with myself and Willy Yahn. And for Michael Flint, Marshall Miles, Brian Oler, thank you very much for tuning in. We will see you on Wednesday, October the 1st. 1, 4, 3.